Hello everyone. Sorry I've been gone for a while. It's been a hectic couple of weeks. My little boy had theater camp for a week. Then all last week we spent preparing and having the 127 yard sale. Thank God that mess is over. And still without a vehicle. Truck still broke down, waiting on the transmission to come back. So it's just been a rough couple of weeks or so. But finally got a chance to shoot another video. This is just going to be the normal thing for the most part. I'm going to do a quick gear review, and then we'll move on into something else. This week, for the gear review that I want to do, I've got this old knife. That is for you, George. E-Squad 540 got a hold of me the other day and asked me where I was and what I'd been doing, and actually told me he thought about doing a call-out video on me to find out why I hadn't done anything. So George, that's for you. Now, actually this week, what I want to talk about, I've been trying to think of something different to come up with and something to do. And I think what I want to talk about this time is a twitch-up snare. I do mine, I guess, a little different. Most people do theirs with 7 notches. I'm going to do I do all of mine with box notches, or square notch, whichever you want to call it. The thing that I do different from what I've seen from others comes when you start looking at the trigger. Real quick, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to whip out one. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm actually going to use my Swiss Army knife for some of the notches and the cuts instead of whittling them all out by hand. But I'll show you what I do that's a little different than what others do that I've seen. Maybe, I don't know, somebody out there may do theirs this way as well, and I just haven't seen it. When I do mine, let me get the bark off this piece here so I can show you. The thing that I do different, besides using square notches, is the piece of the trigger that hooks into the square notch. I actually whittle it down and thin it out and put a point on it. And what I have noticed in doing that is it makes it just a little bit touchier when it comes to being tripped. I'm actually going to do this with a piece of wood that's a whole lot bigger than what I would really use, but I'm doing that for the purposes of allowing you all to be able to see what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and notch this real quick with a Swiss Army knife, so I'll try not to make too much noise if y'all can bear with me for a second. And I do have to agree with a lot of people when it comes to doing little things like this. A Swiss Army knife is great. That little saw can save just so much time. What I'm doing right now is I'm just making the notch that you would attach the string to, or the line to, as well as the wire for the actual snare part. I'm going to do this tonight, and hopefully tomorrow I'll get out and be able to actually set this up and record that and show you how I do that. This one here works really well for rabbit. That's mainly the thing that I've caught on this is rabbit. And again, like I said, this is all going to be a whole lot bigger than what I would do it if I was actually making one that I was going to set and use as an active trap. And I'm doing that just to make it easier for everybody to see, because Normally, when I whittle these little triggers, they're out of something about that size and that big around compared to that. So this is definitely going to be a whole lot easier for you to see. Still loving the PR4. Been very pleased with it. Also tomorrow I'm going to try to shoot a video with the Gibson axe. We've got a small peach tree in the backyard and caught the dogs out there sniffing around the other day and are afraid that the dogs are going to eat some of the peach pits as they fall off and rot. And anybody that's got dogs knows that stone fruit like it, the pits are toxic to them. So we're going to just get rid of the whole tree, and I'm going to use that as an excuse to get out there and chop on the tree with the Gibson axe. Weather has been just crazy here. It's been running in the 80s, but the humidity's been up a little bit and the heat index has been up. But like the old saying goes, it's Kentucky. If you don't like the weather, give it a few days, it'll change. Get this over here where I can cut this without it moving. There we go. We'll work on this part first. This is the part that's actually, I guess a lot of people would call is the trigger. I have found using 7 notches or square notches, either one, on these, it's hard to get a real hair trigger on them because of all the tension, especially if you're doing a spring snare where you're actually trying to lift the entire animal off the ground. And then the tension that's created by your spring pole that it takes to lift a 2 or 3 pound rabbit up off the ground puts a lot of tension on where this all hooks together. Playing musical dogs. I've got a little dog bed here next to me, and Lexi the Wonder Dog got up because Wilson come in there and run her off. I guess he wanted to come out here tonight. Oh me. I had several people reach out to me over the Browning FDX video that I did. A couple of people have went out and found them one. I'm going to try to get some video of using it on that tree as well, just to show how well it does. Like I said, the only thing that's a major drawback with it is the weight. Alright, when I do my triggers, you'll see how that is. I've got a square notch there, and that's where everything hooks. Reason I do a square notch on most of them now instead of just a 7 notch is it gives just a little more clearance where the trigger and the anchor hook together. And to me, I like that because you don't have to worry about things getting bound up. Now this is where things get a little different when I do mine. What I do with mine is I actually flatten this off on both sides. So that when I get done, it's actually shaped like that instead of being completely round. That way when you hook it up, you've got just that little bitty bit there that's holding instead of that whole round width. And I have found doing that makes them just a little more touchier when something gets into it, and it springs just a little bit easier. Well, there's that piece. Cut me off another section of this real quick. There we go. Anybody that watches E Squad 540 will catch the joke about I've got this old knife. I talk to him pretty much on a regular basis, and he's always giving me a hard time and trying to come up with something new for me. I think here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to get out and make some char cloth and do a flint and steel video. This wood's still just a little green, so it's a little sticky while I'm trying to do this. I didn't have anything in my dry pile that was about this size. It was either a whole lot larger or a whole lot smaller. I've watched a few videos where people have done examples and made them the size they would normally make them, and sometimes they're hard to see what they're doing when they're real little like that. On this one, this is going to be my anchor stick. I do a square notch on it as well. There we go. Yeah, this would have worked a whole lot better if this would have been dried out and dead instead of green, but like I said, this little piece is all I could find at the time. Oh, anybody got any camping trips or anything coming up soon? Hopefully this weekend I'm going to make a trip down to Tennessee, and hopefully I'm going to get up to Clingman's Dome. That's the only request I've had, is while we're down there to get to Clingman's Dome. I've been up to Newfound Gap. Figured this time I'd go just a little bit higher than that. Oh, it's getting there. Oh. post this video, I expect to get a phone call from George or a comment or something giving me a hard time. Anyone who hasn't checked out his channel, he does a lot of old gun reviews. I've actually provided him with about 4 old guns to use on that channel. If you get a chance, go over and check him out. It's E-Squad 540. He has got a lot of unique guns. Is very big into H&R history. Harrison and Richardson, for those who aren't gun people. He would appreciate it, checking him out. Oh, now, got that done real quick, and I'll show you how this works. Mostly, the trigger stick, you just pound this into the ground, leave it sticking up like that. On 7 notches, you've got just the 2 shallow notches that hook. Like I said, I use square notches just because it gives more clearance. And then with that piece being shaped that way, when you hook that in, I don't know if you can see that or not. Get my face out of the way there. You can see that there's just not a whole lot there that hooks compared to being the other way if you had the 2 half rounds that hook together there. And then I was taught, once you do your snare, and I'll go over that when I actually get outside and set this up and get it shaped and set, you take another stick across from your trigger stick and set it up, and then this stick is used along with a blade of grass to hold the snare. And I'll go over that tomorrow. And on that, all you do is just make a little split in it, and then what happens, you take your blade of grass and fold it around your wire and slide it up in there, and it'll fit in there good and snug. And then when the snares trip, that wire just jerk right through the grass, and that eliminates the problem of holding your snare up. You don't have to worry about it falling over or anything like that. That piece of grass provides just enough tension to hold it up and hold it in place where it needs to be. Hopefully it don't rain tonight. I know they were calling for some, but if it doesn't, tomorrow I'll get out and actually set this snare so you can see what I'm talking about and finish getting that set up. And then hopefully in the next few days I'll get some video with the Browning FDX and the Gibson axe out there hacking on that peach tree. And then I think I'm going to try to get in a day trip somewhere here within the next month, hopefully. Looking for a warm or for a cooler weekend that I'm going to be off. Seems like here lately it's nice on the weekends I work and hotter than the dickens on the weekends that I'm off. But I hope that's a different approach on that. I'm going to try to get a shot of it this way here. If you can see there's not a whole lot there. And that's why when I set mine, I've gone to thinning those out like that. Well, I appreciate you watching. Comment, subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you like it. Got any ideas for anything else you want me to try or talk about? Leave me a comment and I'll see what I can do about getting around to it. My wife has made fun of me now because I've picked up a little black journal and pack it around and write down ideas in it. She tells me that my little black book is different from everybody else's. And that's a good thing. So, you all have a nice night. I'll talk to you all later.